which is I'm gonna watch TV.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yep, there's green dots flashing and moving across the bottom. Yes. You are amazing. Thank you for your help. Gracias.
How are you?
Mil gracias. Mil
It's
gracias.
close.
Hola, otra vez. So now we're on. Oh, 0 viewers, so they need to log in because it's on. We're on.
Habla inglés. Do you speak English? Yes.
Oh, Esteban no tiene compañero. Do not have a partner. Oh, yeah.
Estoy bien.
guys want to play one?
¿Y usted? Muy bien.
Would you like to join?
This one? We can bring it to you.
I'm fine. And you?
Yes.
Fine.
Right now we are practicing doing a tic-tac-toe or tres en rayas. So if you go to page 20 on your manual, page 20, número 18, it's gonna have the game board. And then you can read through the directions on how to play the game. It's basically tic-tac-toe. So you choose 9 flashcards from the stash that you already have, and then lay them on the board. And then use, you probably have already cut this, page 21 has the X's and O's. And you cut them out, and then each player will take turns. I see there's 2 people, so hopefully if you're in the same location, you can play. And we're gonna do this for a few minutes before we start with our lesson 5. This is our practice for today. So again, you take tic-tac-toe in a row. You choose whichever 9 flashcards you would like.
Okay.
You just do the, I'm going to work on page 21. Okay, Spanish or English? Okay. We're gonna translate these?
Sure. Yeah, can you tell me where directions, the other directions you can. Where is, how do I get, I'm not gonna count it, I don't think I got it right.
I have 2.
I don't think I was
You have a couple extra?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
There are 2 persons.
Okay.
So.
There are people. Persona.
Okay.
You're assuming that I'm saying you. Right, I mean, we had it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
En que la puedo ayudar means how may I help you?
They would know that.
Okay.
Que va a hacer.
What'd she want? Food?
Yes.
Como digo I?
I got spanked. Can you say that in Spanish? It's probably not clean. I just got spanked. I got taken to
Pow,
school.
pow.
I got, oh yeah.
Pow, pow.
But be careful on that
Como
one.
llega
Like I said, I can see some teachers, OPS, you go pow, pow, and they're gonna go, security.
Well,
Or Securitas, is that Spanish?
How do I get to?
What? Seguridad? Seguridad. Seguridad. Yeah.
I've seen some guys wearing the security uniforms around here that
Let's see,
have it in
sometimes
English
como
and
is
Spanish
like-
on their uniform.
Seguridad.
What?
DAD.
Right.
El seguridad, the security officer.
I just came in here and got shown the woodshed.
Okay.
Oopsie.
Okay.
And then, ¿dónde está el baño? Where's the bathroom?
Well, you couldn't, you had a texture. Oh, yeah, you did.
Oh, did I get texted? Oh, no, I didn't. It was a draw.
Also, for those of you online streaming, I would like to receive an email from you with your attendance, since we haven't been able to keep track of it any other way. When you get a chance, send me an email and on our system. Send me the email with your name and saying which classes you've attended, and then I'll update the roster for our class. Thank you.
Is there a tea in, I think it's South America, of yerba mate?
Yerba mate.
Yerba mate,
Yerba mate. Mhm. Muy fuerte, very strong,
okay.
particular taste.
Is it from cactus or is it from a tree?
I believe it's from a tree, and it's like if you go to Trader Joe's or I think I've seen it in, for sure, any of the stores, Latino, like Jacobos and El Caribe, they have a section where they have this tea, yerba mate. And then they will sell you the actual
What's it mix?
well, they have a mix, but if you want to make the real yerba mate, you have to use also the container where it has to like simmer for a while,
Oh,
and you drink it through this long straw. It's a special kind of way to serve it. It's not just, you just don't drink it like we do with normal tea. It's a particular.
Chinese, especially if you serve it, you'll probably get to it that way.
Yep. And the real thing, which is what I hear Chilenos and Paraguayans that drink yerba mate, they say there's the right way to drink yerba mate and the wrong way. I don't know, I've never had it, but I've seen it in the stores, like Whole Foods. I think
¿Dónde
has it too.
está el baño?
Yeah.
Where's the bathroom?
But it's got a particular taste. A lot of Americans, when they try it, they don't like it.
Okay. I usually
Not
kinda-
sweet.
I usually like weaker stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not.
When I order pico de gallo or salsa or something like that, I usually go mild or medium, never caliente.
Picante, no picante.
No ghost pepper.
No.
Remember,
No.
the ending, of male and female. Oh, and
Oh, okay. She's coming to that.
I think you're right.
Okay, so we're gonna, alto por favor, alto por favor.
By the way,
Uh-huh.
you're up and running. Gotta confirm.
Perfecto. Bienvenidos otra vez.
Second time I've done something electronic today, and it's not my thing, so.
Muy bien.
Second time.
Muy bien. Excelente.
The worst, no question.
¿Qué les parece? What do you think about this game? Tic-tac-toe.
I like it.
I would encourage you to try it with maybe like a board game with your children or with your family or anybody else that's learning Spanish and practice it. It's a fun way to memorize those phrases, and then you use them and you hear somebody else pronouncing it other than you. So it's a good one. Another one, if you turn on your books to page 88, página 88, that one says loteria or bingo. And I mean, you can read through we're not going to take time to do that one, but again, it's another good one to practice your numbers. So playing with somebody else, if you like to play bingo or loteria, that's a really good one. Also with your students at school, if they're doing Spanish, this would be a really good game to practice. And if you notice, you fill in, and you can make copies of the board, where it says, ¿cuántos años tienes? So that'd be a different number that you have to come up and put in there. ¿Cuándo es su cumpleaños? When is your birthday? So the day of the month in that square. And then su número favorito, your favorite number. And then, the spread or the range pretty big, from 1 to 1,000. So we're practicing all the digits, all the tens, the hundreds, the thousands. So So it's a really good way to practice números. I would say try it, with your children or with family to continue practicing on your numbers. Then let's turn to page 89, página 89. And here we're going to talk about el tiempo, la hora. What time is it, right? How do we say that in Spanish? We say, ¿qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es?
¿Qué hora es?
¿Qué hora es?
¿Qué hora es?
What time is it? ¿Qué hora es?
¿Qué hora es?
And then we use the Spanish. She has a really handy dandy chart at the bottom, and she has examples. So the one thing to remember when you're telling time in Spanish is that if it's 1 o'clock, it's a singular and female or feminine number uno. So it would be la una. For 1 o'clock, la una. Because it's the hour of 1. Makes sense. And in Spanish, hour is la hora, which is feminine. And that's the reason why we don't say uno de la tarde, we say la una de la tarde. Does that make sense? So with that one singular exception, la una, the rest of the hours of the day, then we say a plural, las dos, las tres, las cuatro, las cinco, and so on, right? So that would be the one thing that to keep in mind, that if you are referring to 1 o'clock as la una, and everything else is plural. But also because of feminine, okay. Correct. The difference would be, right, las dos, las tres, and the reason being son las horas, the hours, and in Spanish it's a feminine term. The word, the term, la hora. And that's one thing, when you are looking up and building your vocabulary in Spanish, I would encourage you to pay attention to that in dictionaries. They usually have, this is a feminine word, it says FEM or MASC, masculine. So pay attention, that will tell you, masculine term, noun, adjective, or feminine. And then it tells you the form, if it changes, because some don't change. So, for example, el color azul in colors. El cielo azul, the sky is blue. La silla azul. La silla, feminine term, but the word azul, which is the adjective, does not change. So that's just an example to tell you that sometimes you're going to have to adjust the noun or the adjective to agree with the gender, feminine or masculine, and other times you don't. So through practice, you kind of get past that. And try to get used to one thing that I recommend is using the article. That helps you lock that in. La silla. I know in the past, in many textbooks, all you find is the term, silla. So we as Americans or non-Spanish speakers, we don't get used to using the article, but it's important because we do use it a lot. So attach the article to those terms. And I'm trying to make myself do it too. When I send you my notes, new vocabulary, I'm adding the article to your word. So you can see it, walk it in. If you're making flashcards, if you're making Quizlets for your vocabulary, make sure you have the article. It makes it easy. So, okay, to the question, ¿qué hora es? The answer is, let's say right now, ¿qué hora es? Ahora mismo, ¿qué hora es?
Las 4.
So that's the hour, las 4.
Las 4.
E for and. Puede hacerlo. You can do that too. 4:38. Son las 4:38. But you can also say, just like the author in the book has, you can do menos and the number of minutes for the following hour. So for example, las 5 menos 22. Las 5 menos 22. It is too much math. Demasiadas matemáticas. And I believe in certain places they may use that. I personally have never used the menos. We say para las. So for example, in English, it would be 10 till 5. So in Spanish, I got a group saying 10 para las 5, 10 till 5. So how many minutes before you get to the following hour? And usually we'll say a quarter, un cuarto para las 5, or 10 para las 5, 10 till 5, or 5 para las 5, 5 minutes till 5. Never menos, like, it's too much for the brain. And now we're using analog clocks anyway, so you have to do math, and time is of the essence. And most people are used to the digital, right? The cuatro. I mean, I like my analog. I'm just old school, but most people and Latinos, I really have not heard that the ones that I know use menos cuarto. But it's good for you to know. I believe in Spain they use it, and that's why she has it in the book. You'll see it in textbooks taught. But I can guarantee Latinos here in Omaha will use 10 para las 5, 10 till 5. Or they will say 4:15, 4 and a quarter of the hour. 4:15. And that's the other half, this in the picture you have, or in the chart at the bottom of page 89, you have menos cuarto on the left, and then on the right it says y cuarto, and a quarter of the hour, and it's got the hands kind of pointing that way. And then at the bottom, if it's the half of the hour, y media. Y media. So I would say if it's 4:30, I'd say 4:30.
4:30.
I would say that before I would say 4:30. Too formal. And so we're used to 4:30. Use fractions. That's fractions, actually. 4:30. Okay, 4.5, 4:30. Okay, and then I'm gonna send this also to email in my notes to you. But we also say en punto, 4 o'clock. En punto. So like
it's important.
Kind of, because sometimes you want to make it a point that la cita, the appointment, la cita es a las 2 en punto. And teachers, doctors.
So just
nurses.
like we were talking the other day.
When you have first communion.
En punto.
En punto. En punto. No hora latina, not Latino hour. En punto. It's 2 words, like on point maybe. En punto. En punto. That is the literal translation for o'clock.
En punto.
O'clock.
So like if it's 5 o'clock, it would be 5 en punto.
You got it.
Okay.
5 en punto. 4 en punto. And the radio stations will say that when they're announcing, on the hour, they say, son las 4 en punto. So, it's not a few minutes before or after. It's right. You're sharp right on.
I was trying to listen to the radio 97.7?
Radio Lobo.
And they were just speaking so fast. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even catch on. It was just so way out of my. But I did hear pop when they're advertising some kind of pop, and but I only figured that out when they're like.
The Coca-Cola maybe, or diet, Coca de dieta. For that, try to listen at different times because they have different commentators or radio talk show hosts. Yes.
I have a question on page 89 where it says 2:15. I just want to make sure it's not a typo. It says C-U-A-R-T-O, and then it says C-U-A-T-R-O. They're different.
Cuarto.
Quarter.
4. 4. And when we go to the next page and we do an exercise, that is a trick question that you just caught for our next one. Well, let's go to page 90, página 90. And here we're going to be, what are we saying here? And so we're going to write down the time that we read in Spanish. Okay, so just write down the numbers that you see. For example, número 1 es la 1.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Now, you can choose to say de la mañana or de la tarde, right? Depending on what time of the day, right? Is it 1 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Oh, page 90, página 90. Then it says, what is your typical day like? Fill in the blanks with the correct time. Note AM de la mañana and PM de la tarde. We use those same abbreviations. Antes meridiano, for us in Spanish, is antes meridiano, AM, and PM, pasado meridiano. So we use the same abbreviations.
Weird, because in Latin, that's what the word comes from. Antemeridian is AM and postmeridian is PM.
Uh-huh.
I would think it'd be almost identical, but I'm not wrong.
No, they're exactly the same thing. Yeah, but we say them in Spanish.
Okay.
And because they came from Latin, they about sound the same, doesn't it? So antes meridiano, AM. What did you say in Latin?
Antemeridian.
Yep. So the word in Spanish for anti,
Okay.
I'll send those so you have them in your notes. And sometimes,
Anti means before, so it's like before the meridian. Meridian is the,
mhm,
you-
mañana.
getting into geography,
Uh-huh.
demarcation line on the map.
Exactly. And that when we're talking about time and el reloj, the clock, and time, we go over that in geography, yes, in Spanish. So we get used to, okay, you can either say de la mañana, and that's pretty long to write down, or, when you're speaking, so you can say AM, or
Do they use
AM.
military time like in hospitals and military or not?
I believe they don't. I will look into that though, but I don't think,
No idea.
it's kind of hard for us when we watch movies or shows that have, the military, the U.S. military, military time,
Mhm.
las 14 horas, and they translate it. And we're like, what, 14? Oh, 2 de la tarde. For us, because we're not used to it, for military. So would they use that system in hospitals here?
My wife is a nurse, and so I think every hospital should work it. I'll use military time because it's just simple. You don't have to write AM and PM, and
Faster.
because of their record keeping, things should be exact. So no Latino time. That is not going to work at a hospital. This could be something you can suit over. So you have to know the
You
exact time.
You bet. Well, yeah, time of death, time of birth, yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. So then I would imagine it's the same thing. I'm not familiar with the hospital systems in Panama, but I'm going to look into that. I know doctors, so. Time en hospitales. I will find that out. Muy interesante.
Could you spell PM, just spell it como se escribe?
You mean what it means, what it stands for in
How do you
Spanish?
write it?
How do you spell it?
Pasado, like past in Spanish. Pasado, pasado.
That's, yeah.
Meridiano. I'll send those in the notes. But it's that what PM stands for. Pasado meridiano. Past meridian. Post meridian. And so in English, we know them, what they stand for, but in Latin, right?
I bet you most people don't have a clue what they mean. They just say AM means morning, PM means afternoon.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You're right. Kind of like RSVP, RSVP, we know what,
Very promptly.
it's just, we know what it means and what it's used for. You bet. But I just thought I'd tell you because sometimes, and I know when I listen to the radio, I'm used to hearing this when they're talking about time and delivering it. Some radio talk show hosts will say la una pasado meridiano. You're like, oh, 1 de la tarde, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's the only reason why I mention it. Okay, so the first one is, and you can choose, AM or PM. Let's just say PM, because that's probably when we would be telling somebody a time. Hopefully not 1 de la mañana. Número 2, son las 2. 2 o'clock, right? Or 2 p.m. Let's see. Número
What does
3.
the sun mean? Does that mean afternoon or?
Which one?
It's son las dos.
Oh, son.
It is.
They are, right? It
They are,
is
okay.
S.
It is.
Uh-huh.
It
And
is,
they
it
are
is
it is 2.
Okay.
But because it's a plural of hours, then we use the plural son.
Okay.
Muy buena pregunta. Very good question. Son. So if it's not 1 o'clock, then it's son, right? The plural conjugation for it is. Son las 2, son las 3, son las 4, and so on. Muy buena pregunta. Gracias. Let's go to número 4. Here's that. Son las 4. 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. Let's go to the next one. Son las 5:04.
5:04.
5:04. Very good. 5:04, 5:04. Let's go to the next one. Son las 6:15.
6:20.
Cuarto is
20.
15.
Oh,
Quarter.
quarter to 2.
Cuarto, quarter, 15.
6 and 15.
We're assuming these are all
6:15.
PM then? These are all PM?
I would say, yeah, well, let's assume it's 6 p.m. Well, you can choose.
Okay.
Siguiente, son las 7:30.
7:30.
7:30, very good, muy bien. Son las 8:30. Número 8, son las 8:30, 8:30. Número 9, son las 9 menos 20. Here we go with the math.
9:20.
8:40. 8:40. 9 menos 20. So we're
20.
subtracting for the hour, yeah.
Ugh.
I know, right? Número 10. Son las 10 menos cuarto. 9:45. Very good. 9:45. Número 11. Son las 11 menos 10.
10 minutes till 1. Oh, 11.
11 menos 10. 10:50. See, here I am confused. Wait a minute. Matemáticas. 10:50. Son las 11 menos 10. And then the last one. Son las 12 menos 5.
11:55.
11:55. 11:55. 11:55. Very good. So now for the bottom part of this exercise, we're going to fill in the blanks with our own information. So let's share the next 5 answers, and we'll just go around. Would anybody want to volunteer to say for number 13, I get up, me levanto a las 6. Me levanto a las 6 a.m., right? In the morning, 6 a.m., 6 de la mañana. Okay. How about the next one, 14? Yo desayuno, I eat breakfast. Yo desayuno a las
10.
10.
That's
Okay.
brunch, I guess.
Es verano. It's summer. Es verano. Why would you eat breakfast so early, right? Not hungry.
Yeah.
Yo desayuno a las 10 a.m. Número 15. Yo preparo el almuerzo. I prepare lunch a las
11:55.
Muy bien. 12 menos 5, 11:55. Yeah. Okay. 16. Trabajo a las, I work at 7:30. Trabajo a las 7:30. Número 17. Yo como la cena. I eat dinner a las. What time do you eat? 6:15. ¿Sí? 6:15.
Is there-
6:15.
You know how in the United States, dinner, lunch, supper, so dinner can be lunch for some people and supper for others. Is that a problem in like Latin countries or not?
You know, it's pretty set. It's pretty set. And we eat heavy lunch and heavy dinner. We are not used to like the light lunch. To us, American lunch is light. If you see Latinos eating their lunch, have you ever seen like the workers, they bring their vianda? Here, let me write down that word so I can tell you what that is. Vianda. Their thermos with, heavy food. And so almuerzo El almuerzo, and Latinos here, we say el lonche. Have you heard people say el lonche? Lunch. So it's Spanglish for lunch. El lonche or almuerzo at noon, around noon, 11:30 noon. And then la cena, dinner, 5, 6, 7, depending on, like South American countries, they eat dinner late. In Colombia, they eat dinner sometimes at 10 o'clock at night. Can you imagine having dinner?
If it's a heavy dinner, that would be.
And it is heavy.
Your digestive system.
They have churrasco in Argentina, you know, a lot of meat, very meat-based dinners. So they do, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil, their dinners are very late.
Huh.
It's just a thing. And then they have merienda, la merienda, the snack, or el té, or yerba mate, or, you know, something to hold them over until, you know, 9, 10. Yeah.
Huh.
In Mexico, I believe it kind of has become like that too, where they eat dinner. They have lunch at 3, almuerzo a las 3, cena 9, 10 de la noche. And family, when I worked in my Montessori school, the little girls would bring their lunch and the teachers would be, oh, what is this? They have a brownie, maybe a cookie, and what? I'm like, well, this is not lunch. It's not meeting. It was a snack because they would eat lunch with their dad that came home from work at 3, and then dinner at 7 or 8. So we had to kind of have a talk with the family and explain to them, DHHS does not like it when our kids are eating this. No, we have to make proper lunch, you know, myplate.gov, you know, all that stuff. So a big change for Latinos when we, you know, are here, that, you know, we're earlier eaters.
Is that true for Europe though? Don't the Europeans eat later lunches and later dinners as well?
I believe they do too. Well, and in Spain, you know, they eat late.
Italy, they eat later.
Mm-hmm.
And everything shuts down
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
middle of the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Yep. La siesta.
Everything does.
Because
The stores, the restaurants, everything.
La
Like,
siesta, big lunch.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you are there and you're not used to that and you're hungry and you're on your own, because it shuts down
Mm-hmm. Yep.
for a few
3
hours.
to 6
Yeah.
or something.
Uh-huh.
Is
It's
it?
2 to 3
So
hours.
then work hours, what would work hours be? Because I mean, if you have a siesta
Uh-huh.
during, you know, between 3 and 6, like
Mm-hmm.
what would your work hour be?
Till
Would you
9,
go,
39. Yeah,
They go back.
they do. And when I
It's like,
I got to work with First Data, and we visited clients in Mexico, and that was what we experienced. That they started at 9-ish, you know, traffic, crazy in Mexico City. So they get to work 9-ish, 9:30, and then almuerzo, 2, 3 de la tarde, 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Light, I wouldn't call it siesta, just long lunches. Go back to work and then work until 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Mm.
Then la cena, dinner.
Oh my God.
So their
Dinner.
days are very long.
Wow, yeah.
And I was off. I'm like, no, I cannot do this.
I know this is just a thought or an odd question, but I wonder if studies have been done about obesity and different, because if you're eating and then going to bed, at least if you're eating earlier, you're still active and moving around. And it's just interesting to me, would it show
Mhm.
that those habits lead to poor health, or, you know what I mean? Like just,
Mhm.
Type 2 diabetes
right.
and
Is
obesity
it higher in those
Latin
countries?
America.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, it is.
that's interesting.
And you can see it in Latino kids here because we're used to eating heavy meals and they're not moving. So there's a big push in Latin America. And I'm speaking of Panama because I read the paper and my mom tells me about it, how the pediatricians are encouraging the parents, okay, cut back on the sugar, cut back on the carbs, because we have a very high carb diet and heavy breakfast, heavy lunch, heavy dinner. And now we got into the idea of the snacks. You know, my mom said, we never have snacks. I never had snacks. No, you eat your desayuno, almuerzo, cena. Kitchen closed. We are not going to be eating, you know, all day long.
Yeah.
But now we do.
Yeah,
And
and
it
that's
is-
not to say that we don't have health issues with the timeline of when we eat. That's not at all what I was implying. I just
Mhm.
wondered if there were
No, it has trickled.
health things connected to that
Mhm.
cultural
Yeah.
timeline of eating or whatever.
We see the same thing that we see here, where parents are working long hours, so the kids are at home. ¿Cierto, Joanna? I'm talking about like, Jorge and Grace, los primos, our cousins. And they just sit in front of the TV. My mom she's the parent in the house right now, and she says, I tell them, you gotta go and play outside. And they have problems with obesity and type 2 diabetes, borderline, both of them, my niece and nephew.
Yeah.
So, and so they say, my mom was saying, it's amazing to observe that now, because they didn't have the problem before. So I think it's a worldwide epidemic we have going on with
And I think
Somebody
children.
posted something on Facebook. It was like 2 weeks ago, and it said, "Well, what did parents do before when kids say they were bored?" And I said, "My mom, I'm not kidding you, at like 9 o'clock in the morning after dinner, go outside and play. She would lock the front and the back door and go out and play, and I'll see you at noon for lunch, and then go outside and play, and then I'll see you again, dinner's 5 o'clock."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside. I said, they don't do that now. They
No.
just sit there and
Mhm. And we're also, I think as adults in charge, we're scared. Are they safe outside?
Right.
You're
That's
so
it.
sensitive.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
my mom lives in a very busy street. She says, oh my gosh, no, I cannot, they're on my clock. No. So she locks the gates
Uh-huh.
and they cannot go outside. They're just in there going around in circles and they get tired. So,
We had to
So-
be in, by the time the street lights came on, we had to be in.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what my husband says. I mean, he said, I own my neighborhood, riding my bicycle. My mom never saw me.
Yeah, my parents never knew where we were either. We rode our bikes forever.
We had a boundary.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
2 blocks that way, 2 blocks
Yeah,
that way,
you
2
just-
blocks that way, you could go in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the change, the
And if
times
you
that
went
we're in.
3 blocks, they would know anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I
Because the
saw,
neighbors, if you were doing something wrong, the neighbors
Oh.
would, by the time you got home, you had already
Yeah.
gotten one whooping and you were gonna get another one.
Yeah.
there was a documentary I actually was watching in Netflix. I can't remember the name of it, but a study about in Japan, how right now there's an influx of the culture that, the global culture of the quick meals. So they're on the go. And they were showing high incidences of diabetes, of all these things, because they said, they didn't used to eat this way, but this is cheaper, faster, and we like it. And so Japanese students, they come here, McDonald's. My roommate loved them. And so we go and we eat my favorite food, get a sundae, strawberry sundae, and fries. And dip the fries. Sweet and salty.
Uh-huh.
Somebody made fun of me on Facebook. I remember you did this? Yes, I did. So it's changing all over. It's changing all over. But for Latinos, whether we are there or here, desayuno, almuerzo, cena. We call them los 3 golpes, the 3 hits. Cannot not live without them. Rice and beans, rice and beans, rice and beans. Arroz y frijoles. They're the basic basis of our meals.
I have a question. So, and this may sound silly, but for the siesta, do they literally take a nap? Because they're up so late at night.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
Yeah.
I suppose they would need it if because they're not going to get a lot of sleep if they eat a heavy meal and they got to wait a little bit to.
Yeah. But like I said, with globalization, we know that we have to be on. And the cities like Mexico City, Panama City, large cities, they don't go home and sleep. Then the siesta is gone. They might shut down so that they can, have a long meal, the 2-hour almuerzo, but they're not sleeping. Yeah, they're having business meetings or, running errands, kind of like what we do here. But we don't have the 2-hour lunch. Right?
Right.
Schools, do the kids have like a siesta or do they just go all day?
Well, okay, so it depends on the country. In Panama, our schools go from either morning or afternoon. Schools have to share buildings sometimes, public schools. So you'd have a shift that starts at 7 in the morning, ends at noon. And then another shift starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and until 6. So they eat at home. They don't eat at school.
Huh.
They might get we call it recreo or a break. And then people, kids bring their own snacks, but they have like a Yeah.
The cafeteria.
The quick shop that they can get a soda or, whatever.
They have different teachers then, or the same teachers, double shift?
It depends. If they are short on teachers, the same teacher will be there. High school especially, but if it's elementary, different teachers. For high school, there seems to be sometimes a shortage, especially the specials like Spanish English. Switch, English, geography, specialty classes. They might have to be music. Yeah, they go all day long. PE. Yeah, but
that was pretty common in the United States in the 30s and 40s during the Depression and World War II, where they would run double shifts like that. They didn't have the money to build new schools, but during World War II, a lot of teachers had gone to the military, so that's what you did.
Yeah. No, I remember. I went sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, depending on what the availability was for my grade or high school. It's different, and it's a shorter day. Sometimes I think I wear that some kids work, like in Colombia. The rural areas, work plantations, so they just don't go to school at all during the time where they're picking coffee or whatever they're doing, and then they come back and try to catch up. So it's different. Mexico, same thing, and it's not compulsory, not mandatory to send your kids to school. And so Latino parents have a hard time here when they get a call. Your kid did not come to school today. I know. I didn't bring it. So to them, it's like, well, why? What do you? Where I come from, I make it if I can. So that's a switch in our culture when we come up here, that it is expected. Kids have to go to school. Yes.
Do they understand why we have to call? Because of the danger of.
Some don't. Some don't. Some think it's an intrusion. So when I work with OPS teachers, I tell them, that you kind of have to do education of the parents in that these are the rules here, and the reason why we have to do it. And then they're like, oh, okay. When that truancy thing passed, or they increased the number of days, they sent out letters to OPS families, because a lot of them, like over the Christmas break, they would go for las posadas and then come back a month later. And it's a long trip, expensive, and they want to make sure their kids spend January 6th, the Three Kings Day and all the traditions they do over there. But then they're like, oh, I could get in trouble, serious trouble. So now, they don't see the problem anymore. It's been fixed.
We had problems with that. Like our principals got really upset because we had a couple of kids would be gone from like December 15th until early January, because they would go down to Mexico and stay for a long time, or and they would pick that, and then Christmas going nuts. You got 2 weeks off for Christmas. And
yeah. The celebration.
I tried to explain it to them, but
yeah. Well, and I really believe that once they get the reason why Americanized, they're okay. So we'll just abide. We have to, otherwise our kids are, in trouble. And we are now Americans. We have to assimilate and adjust. There's a term that you might run into if you read articles about Latino culture. I've been reading about, now they're using more the word acculturization, because they're trying to, we live 2 cultures. I know I do. I did the moment I moved from Panama, because life goes on over there. When I go back, it's not what I remember. I'm now in 2 worlds, and then when I, if I spend time over there and I come over here, so I'm okay. Now I have to adjust my thinking, and so Latinos that want to preserve their culture and their language are a mix. I think I may have sent you a link of Latino in the USA. Soledad O'Brien did a really good piece in 2009, but I think she continues to research and update that website. If you go in CNN, it's really interesting, because it's the evolution. We have not just the second generation Latinos, but the original ones that are here, and they're having children, but they're trying to get them to, don't forget, your food, and your language.
And that's a good thing, because when my grandparents came over from Italy, they lost all that. And
Yes.
it depended on where they were from. The ones from the mainland Italy, they Americanized.
Mhm.
They wanted to be called grandma and grandpa, whereas the ones from Sicily came over and still wanted to be called nana and nani, and wanted to still maintain some of that culture.
Yeah, I really think it's very rich. It helps with identity.
Otherwise, you get a few generations down and lose it completely.
Yes.
One of my friends, well, she was my boss at the Med Center. Her and her husband are actually the pastor and first lady of the Vietnamese Alliance Church. Their children, they to this day maintain their Vietnamese culture, and they go back once a year to Vietnam and visit, and then they speak Vietnamese in the home, but all of their children are educated
Right.
in the, well, not even in the public school, it's a Christian school. They go to the Christian school in South Omaha, somewhere, I think it is.
Okay.
But their culture is like that too, because once they come home, it's totally Vietnamese household.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And identity is the key. We feel we need it, but we are aware, and when we go back home, that's history. They have moved on without us. And if you have you read Isabel Allende, this author? She's originally from Chile, but she has novels like La hija de la fortuna, Daughter of Fortune, Mi país inventado, My made up world. She's one of my favorite authors because of her journey becoming this Latino in the USA. She lives in California. And reading her biography, you kind of get a feel for what Latinos go through, and that we kind of morph. So anyway, it's a good resource, I think, to kind of see where we are, understand where we're coming from and what we're trying to do, but also, we know we are Americans now. Gotta know the English, gotta follow the rules and adapt. Big challenge. But that's what we're trying, we're trying.
What was her name again?
Isabel Allende.
What's the term that you use instead of assimilate?
Acculturation.
Acculturate.
To acculturate or acculturation. I'll send you a link because when I saw that, I've been reading about it for the class. Also, because there's questions that come up and I'm like, I wonder about this. So I read some more. And I'm working with a friend of mine who's a professor at Slippery Rock University, and she teaches Spanish to college level students. And she says, for the profession, the language is important by all means. And, we focus on that, but we also cannot forget the culture, the background, because it's different. It's a different world, and it helps when you're trying to build a relationship with that, community. They're your clients, your students, parents. So it's important to have that background. And so I'll share what I've been collecting with you. So whenever you get a chance, all that free time you have in the summer, you go over that.
I was teaching my students about a month ago about Cinco de Mayo. I said, I compared it to St. Patrick's Day. If you go to Ireland, St. Patrick's Day is not that big a deal. But here in America, it's trying to keep the culture alive. I think Cinco de Mayo has kind of evolved into that in the United States where it tries to keep especially the Mexican heritage alive. But I think some of the other cultures have grabbed onto it too.
Yeah, we all celebrate it. Oh, Cinco de Mayo, spring, lovely day, and it's easy to say. We all like to say Cinco de Mayo. I had students telling me, "Oh, Feliz Cinco de Mayo," and I, in the back of my mind, I'm like, "That's so funny," but I get it, and I celebrate it, so I welcome it. Absolutely, yes, heritage. All right, so let's move on. Let's try to get to the last one. I think we were stuck at, número 18. Me acuesto, I go to bed. Me acuesto a las. And what time do you think you go to bed? Or would you like to share?
12.
A las 12. 12. Now, we have mediodía, is noon. Medianoche, midnight. So, 12, medianoche. I'll send that in our.
Medianoche.
Me acuesto a las 12 medianoche. Or me acuesto a las 9. That is my goal. In bed by 9, right, Joanna?
9:30.
No. In bed by 9. A las 9 en la cama. Yeah, I know. We don't see eye to eye on that one.
My husband, I don't.
I know, isn't it? That's the way of the world. Okay, and then on page 91, we have, you can read through that, but it's mostly talking about the cultural, well, some of the things we were talking about. Mañana, which is one of the words that we all know about the Spanish language, mañana, and how it can mean tomorrow or in the morning or no pressure, right? Mañana. I'll get to that mañana. I don't know. And so anyway, you feel free to read through that. Like I said, it just touches on a different holidays. Some of these you probably know or are familiar with. A lot of them related to Catholic celebrations. So I'm not sure if we talk about that here, but I will make sure I mention it in my notes. Las patronales, or patron saint parties, celebrations. Every city in Latin America has a patron saint. I was born in David, San Jose de David, or David of St. Joseph. So we celebrate San Jose, 19 de marzo, March 19th, every year. Big party. Fireworks, a fair. Shut down. The city shuts down because we're celebrating San Jose. There's special masses, and we all attend to celebrating San Jose de David. So patronales are a big celebration in Latin American towns and cities. Some people go to their own hometown, like if they live in the city now, oh, hay que ir a las patronales. You have to go to the patron saint days, and vacation. So it's a party, las patronales. I would venture to say that it's almost the equivalent of where your home team is playing, and you go, homecoming games or whatever, like that. Patronales, big party. Muy buena celebración. Very good celebration.
We have to know how to say Huskers.
Huskers. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have to make I don't know if I mentioned this here. I know I did in my last class, the one that I taught previous to this one. But babies that wear red, did I mention that here? The importance of babies and little kids wearing red in Latin America. So it's superstition. It's a must. I did it. My family sent red goodies, red outfits, red everything, head to toe. It is believed that it protects babies from evil, the evil eye. Mal de ojo. Mal de ojo. So it is believed, and I remember my dad used to say this, he didn't believe it, but he would explain it, Somebody might have really strong vibes, or the way they look at the child, and they're, oh, so beautiful. They look at them too much, they hold them too long, and then the kid's sick. And so you gotta get him out of that state. It's evil, it's the evil eye. So whoever was doing this has to sweat in their shirt and then give the shirt to the parent of the child. And the child has to be covered in that sweaty shirt, and that will clear the evil eye. Superstition. But different people have different views on this, on what could happen. So if you see a Latino baby wearing red, they're not Huskers. It is the evil eye, and it is the expectation. They have to wear red for a long time because babies are cute, and they're vulnerable. Oh, and also they have to be baptized quickly, because if they're not baptized, it's even worse, the evil eye. So baptism kind of guards them, but just in case, get that red on the baby. So, something to be aware of, little cultural information. Okay, so page 92, página 92. We're gonna go over the months of the year. So let's, I'm gonna say it in English, and please repeat after me. January, enero.
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 Muy bien. February, febrero.
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 March, marzo.
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 May, mayo.
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 June, junio.
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 July, julio.
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 August, agosto.
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 September, septiembre.
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 October, octubre.
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 November, noviembre.
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 December, diciembre.
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 Okay. And then on the following page, we have the days of the week. Los días de la semana. Monday, lunes.
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 And it says there many Latin American calendars start with lunes, beginning of the week for us. And I like to say, I speculate, that's because then sábado and domingo, Saturday and Sunday, are our mini vacation. You know, you don't work, you don't go to school, hopefully, Saturday and Sunday. So. Tuesday, martes.
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 Wednesday, miércoles.
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 Thursday, jueves.
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 Friday, viernes.
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 Saturday, sábado.
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 Sunday, domingo.
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 Okay, so then let's do that exercise. Circle the English choice that matches the Spanish phrase. So, número uno, enero.
January.
January, de. January. Número dos, octubre. Se. October. Octubre is October. Número tres, jueves. Thursday. Jueves. Thursday. Número cuatro, miércoles. De. Wednesday. Wednesday. Miércoles. Okay. Now, in the next page, 86, el clima, the weather. ¿Cómo está el clima hoy? What is the weather today? ¿Cómo está el clima hoy? And then we have different answers. So it's windy, hace viento.
Hace viento.
Hace viento.
Hace viento.
Let's do this one together. I like the TPR on this one. Hace calor.
Hace calor.
It's hot. Hace calor.
Hace calor.
Mm-hmm. Hace frío.
Hace frío.
Hace frío.
Hace frío.
Llueve.
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 I don't know about nieva. What do we do with nieva? It snows. Nieva.
Nieva.
It's cloudy. Está nublado.
Está nublado.
Está nublado.
Está nublado.
Okay. So that is pretty much the responses we give when about the weather. ¿Cómo está el clima hoy? What is the weather like today? ¿Cómo está el clima hoy?
¿Cómo está el clima hoy?
Uh-huh. And then right at the bottom paragraph that covers how you need to say,
yo tengo calor or tengo calor. Do not say estoy caliente because it would mean I am hot in a good looking way. So, you know. And you will hear people saying that and going, estoy caliente. You know? So always, yo tengo calor. Okay. And then she has there the same thing, you know, yo tengo frío, don't say estoy frío, you know. So anyway, just make sure you get that, you know, practice. Those are the replies you would give. Now let's move on to 95, page 95. And we're going to practice these calendar phrases that could be used as scheduling events or to schedule events. So it says, ask a partner and invent answers in Spanish using pages 92 and 93. I would like to do this together because of interest of time. So let's do, and also note that those of you that have a CD, you can hear the track for those on, let's see, track 22. So what is the day today? ¿Cuál es la fecha hoy?
¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy?
¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? I apologize. ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy?
¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy?
So would anybody want to volunteer? ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy?
Hoy es miércoles.
Mm-hmm.
You need more than that. Do you need number?
You can say the number, absolutely.
Hoy es miércoles 29 de junio.
Perfecto. Hoy es miércoles 29 de junio. Or in here she has es el. Mm-hmm. 29 de junio. If you don't want to give the day of the week, although normally we'd say, you know, the day of the week and the date. Usually we do. Okay, so the next one. ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? Now that we know los meses del año, months of the year, and we know los números, we can say, ¿cuándo es nuestro cumpleaños? So, real quick, we're going to go around. I'm going to ask Joanna, ¿cuándo es su cumpleaños? February 24th. Muy bien. Very good. So she understands Spanish. Very good. So what would it be in Spanish? Can you tell me the month? El mes?
Febrero.
Muy bien. Febrero. ¿Y la fecha, el número? 24 de febrero. So we say 24 de febrero, right? So the answer is, mi cumpleaños es el 24 de febrero. I'm going to use myself as an example. Mi cumpleaños es el 4 de junio.
4th of June.
Yep, very good. Who else would like to share their cumpleaños? Dígame, ¿cuándo es cumpleaños?
September.
Ajá. So, 2 de septiembre. Very good. And there's that military style date in Spanish, right? Because I think in the military they also say
Military does it that way.
date.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think the hospital, they do the same thing too. They put the
Yeah.
day, then the month, then the year.
So we would not be confused, Latinos, looking at the date in the hospital. Otherwise, you know, July and June get a little confusing for us, you know, like 7, 6, the beginning of the month, you know. So like, is that the third month or is it the third day? Okay. Muy bien, gracias. ¿Cuándo es su cumpleaños, Lynn?
Mi cumpleaños es 30 de abril.
Perfecto, muy bien. ¿Cuándo es su cumpleaños,
Mi
Stacy?
cumpleaños es el 2 de mayo.
2 de mayo. Bien.
It's really close.
Okay.
We celebrate together.
Ajá. Piñata. La piñata. Ujú.
Mi cumpleaños es 29
Ujú.
de octubre.
Ok, 29 de octubre. Señor Esteban.
Mi cumpleaños es el 23 marzo.
23 de marzo. Muy bien.
Mi cumpleaños es el 2 de julio.
2 de junio, somos vecinas. Neighbors, vecinas. Ujú.
Cumpleaños es el 25 de marzo.
25 de marzo. Excelente.
Mi cumpleaños es el 21 agosto,
De agosto.
de agosto.
Mi cumpleaños es el 28 los agosto.
De
agosto.
Ujú. Sí,
We are-
vecinas.
yeah,
Vecinas.
vecinas.
Ujú. Neighbors, vecinas. Ok. Muy bien. ¿Qué día es la cita? What day is the appointment? Let's repeat that question. ¿Qué día es la cita?
¿Qué día es la cita?
And by the way, in Spanish, cita is one word that means either appointment or date. Same thing. And just through context, we figure out, is it an appointment or is it a date? Same word. ¿Qué día es la cita?
¿Qué día es la cita?
So then the answer to that question is, la cita es,
La
Cita es
and then here let's just use that example, el lunes
el lunes
a las 9 de la mañana.
a las 9 de la mañana.
Ujú.
Mañana.
Muy bien. Now, números, ajá.
Is that the same word you would use if you had a date? Going on a date, had a date? It's the same term as the date of the appointment?
Yes.
Okay.
La cita. The word cita, date, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Número 8. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping. Número 7. ¿Qué hora es?
¿Qué hora es?
Who would like to volunteer? ¿Qué hora es?
Cinco media.
Y media.
En media.
5:30. Ujú.
5:30.
Son las 5:30. Muy bien. Son las 5:30. ¿Cómo está el clima hoy? ¿Cómo está el clima hoy?
Hace
calor.
Hace calor. Muy bien. Hace calor. Aquí no, not here. Muy buen aire. There's a good air conditioning. No. Aquí no, afuera. Outside, afuera. Hace calor, calor. Okay. So, and as you can probably tell, these phrases are going to be part of our flashcards that we can practice with. So let's go to page 96, página 96. And it says, answer the questions below for the vocabulary to help you build with your vocabulary. So let's do this. I would like to leave that one, 88, as tarea. And also, you can read through that, the legends and the myths that are important in the Latino culture. I'm going to add in my notes a few links about some legends that we actually tell children in Latin America. I can tell you a quick brief, one of the ones that I remember because I experienced it, La Mano Peluda, the hairy hand. When I was little, my grandma and the person that took care of me while my mom worked, if I was to go to bed, she'd say, si te sales de la cama, if you get out of bed, la mano peluda viene. Hairy hand's gonna get you. So I remember sleeping in my bed like this. I wouldn't move because, you know, that hand is, and for years. And it is typical for Latino families to tell those stories. Or like if they run away, they need to stay near family or home. Mom, if you run away, La Llorona might get you. And so you can read more about that. It's very typical in Latino. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's all kinds of trauma, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember as I grew, you know, kind of like, I don't know, this might be a stretch to say that it's kind of like Santa Claus or, you know, the Tooth Fairy, or that over time you're like, oh, no, we're on. But, or what was the one that I know when my kids were little, a neighbor talked about the Sandman. I had no idea about the Sandman. So in the carpool, he explained it to them, and they're like, do you remember that, Joanna? The Sandman? You've forgotten? RJ would tell us a story. Ask Sam, he remember. So, and I'm driving like, oh no, one more thing to worry about. Like, oh, the song. Okay. Now growing up with that, like,
Right.
it must be what you think when you hear us Latinos talking about La Mano Peluda and La Llorona. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, but I'll send you a link that talks more about that. Okay, because that's again part of the culture and Latino discipline techniques. If you will. Okay, on page 97, we have more phrases. And it says it's about, medical situations. So at the bottom of the page, we have a vocabulary for parts of the body. But I'm going to read the phrases for the first four. Watch out, cuidado.
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 Which it can also mean be careful or caution. So like a child running, like running to the street, cuidado. We say that. Or, somebody walks and might knock over a bottle of water. Cuidado. That one a lot. Número dos. Do you need anything else? ¿Necesita algo más?
Necesita algo más.
¿Necesita algo más?
Necesita algo más.
And the next one. Do you have questions? ¿Tiene preguntas?
Tiene preguntas.
¿Tiene preguntas?
Tiene preguntas.
Número tres. Where do you hurt? ¿Dónde le duele?
¿Dónde le duele?
¿Dónde le duele?
¿Dónde le duele?
Número cuatro, number four, just an example. Me duele la mano.
Me duele la mano.
Me duele la mano.
Me duele la mano.
Okay. So for the next ones, I'm going to read them so you can hear. Actually, you know what? I'm going to read a few, but you can see those of you that have the CD, track 23, will have the pronunciation of the vocabulary for these. But let me read them through for you. Ankle, el tobillo.
El tobillo.
Arm, el brazo.
El brazo.
Back, la espalda.
La espalda.
Cough, la tos.
La tos.
Mhm. Inner ear, el oído.
El oído.
Eye, el ojo.
El ojo.
Finger, el dedo.
El dedo.
Foot, el pie.
El pie.
So, when you see that in Latin America or Latinos, when they see a pie in dessert menus, they're like, gross, you cannot have pie for dessert. And so we write pie. I've seen this in in Latin America, like in Panama, they write pie like this, el pie. Because if they put pie, then those that don't speak English are like, what? Most people do know now because, again, internet and, we all like apple pie.
But they don't go to Village Inn on Wednesdays for free.
El pie, el pie. ¿Cómo? No. Head, la cabeza.
La cabeza.
La cabeza.
La cabeza.
Knee, la rodilla.
La rodilla.
Leg, la pierna.
La pierna.
Mouth, la boca.
La boca.
So what do you think have you heard, like boca raton?
Rat's mouth.
Yeah. Or mouse, raton is mouse.
Okay.
So boca raton, coincidentally
My
near
in-laws
Mickey Mouse,
really
right?
have to drive over a street called Boca Raton to get to their house. And they told me about venison.
Yeah, la boca del ratón. Neck, el cuello.
El cuello.
Nose, la nariz.
La nariz.
Stomach, el estómago.
El estómago.
Throat, la garganta.
La garganta.
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 Ujú. Toe, el dedo del pie.
El dedo del pie.
So we don't have an equivalent for toe in Spanish. So we have el dedo de la mano, el dedo del pie. Same.
Finger toe.
El finger toe, el dedo del pie. Exactly.
Oh, that's fun.
Uh-huh.
El,
Let's see. Tooth, el diente,
el diente.
or la muela.
La muela.
For molars, right? La muela. Wound, la herida.
La herida.
And wrist, la muñeca,
La muñeca.
which coincidentally is the same word for doll. Barbie doll or American doll. La muñeca.
So how would you say headache?
Dolor de cabeza.
Dolor la cabeza.
Dolor de cabeza.
Headache.
Oh, headache.
Dolor de. Dolor de is a pain in, certain part. Dolor de mano, dolor de cabeza, dolor de garganta, dolor de espalda. That's what we would say, aches, right? Aches.
Yeah.
I had a hard time learning that one when I was learning English, the aches, because I wanted to, do the equivalent from the Spanish. I was like, oh, no. Headache, dolor de cabeza, not pain of head. Dolor de cabeza. Okay, and I have a song that I actually sing. You probably have heard or seen, but like head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I do it in Spanish, so I can send it to you. Just to practice body parts,
Yes.
Same thing. It's the same thing. So 98 and 99, pages 98 and 99 are tarea, homework. And let's look at 100 and 101, those are the cultural information about South American countries: Bolivia, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. She has them all in one. They're pretty similar, but you can read on your own each one of those facts. So let's look at cosas interesantes, interesting things, on page 102. Página 102. So, Lake Titicaca's floating islands are made from totora reeds that taste like celery when eaten and need to be regularly replenished. And walking on the island is like being on a bed of hay that sinks slightly. The Uros tribe lives on the islands and has an escuela flotante school. Número 2, Chilean poet Pablo Neruda had a carousel horse in his circular room and a cloud chair with an ocean view at his La Sebastiana house. And número 3, Uruguay has never won a World Cup in football, soccer. But frankly, I don't remember, but let me tell you that you know that we have answers to all of these in the back?
Mm-hmm.
So let me see, that would be 102. Let me remember which one of these is the false one. Oh, 94, it's in the wrong page. So, which one did you say is false? ¿Cuál es falso?
Uno.
Es cierto.
Dos.
3 es falso. Mhm. Uruguay won the World Cup in 1930 and 1950. So they have, but a long time ago. And I mean, if you got a chance to look at, Copa America, 100 años, 100 years, they've been playing that one. So,
It's so fun to go to the live World Cup soccer games. Just gonna say. We went to the women's last year.
Oh,
in
you
Canada. It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It is. I mean, soccer is number one. I mean, people love it. Of course, the social media is crazy over Messi quitting Argentina. That is the latest. They have memes up the wazoo about the poor guy, and I feel bad. But yeah, one-man team was Argentina. Okay, so the next set for food, comida, yerba mate in Paraguay, Argentina, and Uruguay is served in individual teacups after the tea has been brewed for 24 hours. Cuy is roasted guinea pig served whole on the plate. This includes the little beady eyes, teeth, etc. And Peru has 35 varieties of maize, corn, and 2,000 varieties of potatoes. Uno. And the explanation we have in the back, it says, herbs for yerba mate are placed in a gourd, then hot water is poured on the herbs. A bombilla, and that's what I was looking for, the word of where they serve this tea. With metal straw, strains the tea as you drink it. When the gourd is empty, you usually pass it to the next family member. This is how they drink yerba mate, and the proper way of doing it.
Is it one of those like ball things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks kind of funny. You can see, if you go online to the culture page, you'll see pictures of yerba mate. It doesn't look like something, we're familiar with. I personally have never tried it, but I've heard it's a particular taste. A lot of people don't like it. Okay, so because of time, I'm going to go past that. I would like to get to our page 104 and 105. So, and this goes to the verb to be, which is either ser or estar. Page 104, página 104, page 104. And this is, it is quite confusing, I know, but there are ways to kind of tell them apart, and the only way to get past that is practice. But let's go through this. So there are two examples on the bottom of page 104 to kind of help us understand the meaning between ser and estar. So ser, looking at the example, mi jefe es malo. My boss is bad, as in bad nature or character. Estar, mi jefe está malo. My boss is feeling bad or sick. Okay? And we go a little further. Let's look at the next one. Ser, yo soy lista. I am smart. Versus, yo estoy lista. I am ready. So you kind of tell the difference between those using ser or estar. So looking at choice number 1, or verb ser, on page 105, it says to help you remember when to use ser, memorize an acronym. And she's giving you an acronym of each letter meaning the categories that will help you remember when to use ser. So the very first one, date, hoy es martes. You will always use ser with dates. Hoy es martes, no es el 17 de junio, es el 29 de noviembre, so on. Dates, es, or estar. Ser. Occupations. Él es el dueño. Él es el dueño. Occupation. Ser. Oh, page 105? Are we?
Yeah.
Okay. The next category, time, which we just covered, es la 1:30. Ser. No son las 11:15. The next category, characteristics that are permanent. For example, la maestra es alta. The female teacher is tall. So that will never change, right? It's a permanent characteristic. Yo soy una mujer. I am a woman. The next category, origin or nationality. Chocolate es un producto de México. The verb es, or ser. It's a conjugation there of the verb ser. Chocolate es. Chocolate is a product from Mexico. Nationality. Yo soy de los Estados Unidos de América. I am from the USA. And the last category, mine or possession. La receta es de Diego. The recipe is dogs. La merienda es de Rosita y Juanito. The snack is Rosie and Johnny's. Okay, so then looking at the conjugation, here we have our first chart of how she presents the verbs for us to see how the conjugation goes for singular and how the conjugation goes for plural. So on the left, the singular, I am, yo soy.
Yo soy.
He is, él es.
Él es.
She is, ella es.
Ella es.
Adam is, Adán es.
Adán es.
You are in the formal, usted es.
Usted es.
Now, for the plural, we are, nosotros somos.
Nosotros somos.
They are, ellos son.
Ellos son.
Abraham and Noah are, Abraham y Manolo son.
Abraham y Manolo son.
You are, ustedes son.
Ustedes son.
Okay, so let's look at page 106, página 106. And it has, okay, how can we tell or what categories would fall for using the verb estar? Well, she has the acronym WELL. Weather. Está nublado. Emotion or a change from previous condition. El maestro está cansado. The male teacher is tired. La gerente or jefe está despedida. The female manager or boss is fired. Temporary. It's temporary condition, hopefully. Locations. Usted está en la clase de español. You are in Spanish class. And the next L, lifestyle or health. Yo estoy enferma. I am sick. Female. Or yo estoy casado. I am married. I'm hoping that one is permanent. But for some reason it is in the, because we say, you know, está casado. We don't say es, soy casado. You can say soy casado, I am. But referring to someone, we don't say el sea casado, it's él está casado. So use estar for that particular example. So to be for estar is a condition that is changing, not permanent. So when you think of ser, permanent. Estar, changing, temporary. Okay? So let's go over the chart. I am, yo estoy.
Yo estoy.
He is, él está.
Él está.
She is, ella está.
Ella está.
Michael is, Miguel está.
Miguel está.
You are, in the formal singular, usted está.
Usted está.
Now let's look at the plural. We are, nosotros estamos.
Nosotros estamos.
They are, ellos están.
Ellos están.
Cindy and Tom are, Cynthia y Tomás están.
Cintia y Tomás están.
You are, in the formal plural, ustedes están.
Ustedes están.
So to help us lock those in, those conjugations, we encourage everybody to use the pronouns. But as we move forward, you'll see they're tacit, they're implicit. You don't have to use the pronoun. So you could see sentences such as, estoy cansada. I am tired. Estoy cansada. Instead of, yo estoy cansada. The pronoun tends to drop in regular conversation. But for purposes of learning and locking these tenses and conjugations in, use the pronoun. For example, at the bottom of that page, let's do that quick practice, and that will be, well, yeah, because I think the next page is homework. Yes, page 107 is homework. So let's do the bottom of page 106, practicing the difference between ser and estar. So número 1, nosotros trabajando tiempo extra. And that means working overtime. Nosotros estamos, you bet. Nosotros estamos trabajando tiempo extra. Estamos. Número 2, usted Enojado. Enojado means mad. Está. Hopefully that is also temporary, right? It's going to change. Usted está enojado. Número 3. Nosotros, rubios. Rubios is blonde. Somos. We are blonde. It's not gonna, well, I guess it could change if you dye your hair. But nosotros somos rubios. And by the way, in Mexico, I'm going to write this down to add in your vocabulary. But in Mexico, they refer to blondes as güeros. Have you heard güero? Güero, güera? I think there might be either a restaurant or a store in South Omaha called La Güera.
Yeah.
I'll send you how it's written. But that means blonde. Or in Mexico, American. Americans are usually los güeros. It's una güera, güerita, güero. Okay? And it's not negative connotation. It's just a term to mean blonde. Okay? Blue eyes, blonde. Número 4. La Llorona. Una leyenda. A legend. Es. It's describing what it is. Es una leyenda. So, permanent. La Llorona es una leyenda. You would use ser in that one. Número 5. Time. Las 8:30 son las 8:30. Número 5 es son. Número 6. Celeste y Mateo muy emocionados. Very excited. Celeste y Mateo están muy emocionados. Yes. Están. Plural, because yes. And estar, right? Very excited.
Oh, Celeste and
Están muy emocionados. They're very excited. There's a tendency to translate literally the word, the adjective excited. I'm so excited. In English, you're, happy, excited about something, right? But in Spanish, excitado does not have that same meaning. You say emocionado or emocionada. Very important to tell that difference. It's not a cognate. It's one of those that people think it's a cognate, but it really isn't. Okay? I'm going to add that to my list of vocabulary just to emphasize on that.
Are we keeping these?
Yes, please. Yeah, those are for you. And so you can use them for that was my idea for last week, but, mañana, Latino mañana. So please do 107 for tarea, and then cut up the flashcards on page 109, and we'll pick it up tomorrow for our lección 6, and any questions you have, please ask. Look for my email, el libro mañana. I'll bring you tomorrow. Muchas gracias. Hasta mañana.
We had some stuff that we had to have done at our house. It's a long story, but the construction guy, he has a lot of Latinos working for him on Saturday.